Good evening again, everybody. This is Wesley Hudson, Mayor Pro Tem of the City of High Point. I'd like to call our meeting to order and welcome you all to City Hall tonight and welcome those that are listening remotely. In chamber tonight, we have the entire council minus Mayor Jay Wagner, obviously. Jay and his family are celebrating the life of Jay's mother, Patsy, who finished her earthly journey this last week. So they're joining together to celebrate her life today. Before we begin, I'd like to invite you all to join me in rise in a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, and remember to keep Mayor Wagner and his family in your thoughts tonight. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first item on the agenda tonight is a report from the Finance Committee, and I'd like to recognize Councilmember Britton Moore.
Thank you. Tonight's agenda's got two parts, Council. In your packets, there were only two items under our consent agenda, and I will move a motion forward on that for approval.
Second.
There's a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion approves unanimously.
We do have two public hearings under finance tonight, so the first one is 2023-128. It's about our equitable sharing funds. So at this time, I'm going to open the public hearing, and we will hear quickly, well, we've heard about it before, and Chief Stroud and staff are here. Is there anyone that, after review, got any questions on that? About the drone program?
Fascinating proposal.
Okay. Then, is there anyone in the audience here that's speaking for or against this item? Okay. Then I'll close the public hearing and make a motion to approve item 2023-128.
Second.
There's a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously as well.
Thank you. The next item is 2023-129. It's a request of performance-based incentives, and Ms. Sandy Dunbeck is coming forward to present.
That's you, right?
Mm-hmm. You can do it there. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Hudson and members of council, staff. I am Sandy Dunbeck. I'm Director of High Point Economic Development, and I, along with my colleague Montana Brown, are pleased to bring you this proposed downtown office project for High Point tonight. The company is Eichholz, a home furnishings company that currently has showroom space on Hamilton Street in High Point. The proposed project is a U.S. headquarters location, and the professional employees are exactly the types of positions we would like to have downtown, and their location would aid in the city's downtown development strategies. This is the fifth project to be considered for targeted downtown incentives and would result in the Bedrock building being 97% occupied should they locate. With us here tonight in council chambers is Dallas George, Managing Director for Eichholz. The company is considering High Point along with other locations in the Triad. Should the project move forward in High Point, the company would lease 3,266 square feet of office space for 5 years with options to renew at the Bedrock at 275 North Elm. The project involves the relocation of 5 positions and the creation of 10 new positions with average wage of $71,666. So for this project, the High Point EDC staff recommends consideration of up to $169,832 in cash grant incentives to encourage the company to locate in downtown High Point. The source of the funding would be the city's Economic Development Incentive Fund, which is funded by general and electric revenues. Any such incentives would be subject to the company meeting the leasing and job relocation and creation requirements spelled out in a performance agreement. I'll turn it over now to Dallas George of Eichholz so that he can share more about the project.
Well, thank you, Sandy.
Absolutely. If you just
Sure,
want
this
to
one.
tap with
Great.
that.
Great. Well, good evening, Mayor Temp and City Council. I'm very happy to be here this evening. As Sandy said, I'm Dallas George, Managing Director USA for Eichholz Corporation. And I thought tonight would be a good time to kind of bring you up to date on who we are, who Eichholz is, and our plans for the U.S. and our locating our U.S. headquarters here in the Piedmont area, or the Carolina Core, as I learned the other day that we're moving in towards that name, which I think is awesome, really, really cool. So let me give you an update of who we are and where we came from. We are a Dutch firm. We're based out of the Netherlands. We do business in over 105 countries worldwide, and we've been a big deal in Europe for 30 years. We're probably Europe's #1 luxury product line in home furnishings. And our new frontier is the U.S. And our headquarters are based right outside of Amsterdam. You'll see the tulips upper left-hand corner. Our showroom is in the middle of farmland. So when you're 30 minutes out of Amsterdam, you're in the middle of tulip country. And when you look off our top balcony, you see about 200 to 300 acres of nothing but tulips when they're in bloom. So you see 10 acres of black tulips, 10 acres of red, green, yellow, orange, blue. There's more colors than we know how to explain them, and it's really, really breathtaking. So it's really a great organization, and it's fun to visit, and would encourage any of you that are in Amsterdam to give us a call. We'd take a tour of the facilities. And then about 3 years ago, we were fortunate enough to pick up it's 129 South Hamilton Street. Christopher Guy, couldn't remember Christopher's first name, that building, which is a phenomenal building. And our product line, which is whole home, we sell everything from the rugs to the ceiling, to chandeliers, to lighting, to wall art, to mirrors, to everything in the home. That building really complements the product line, and the product line complements the building. So it's a nice marriage. And we're just neighbors. I walked over here, actually. And then we've been in business, I said, for 30 years. And Theo Eichholz, the founder of the organization, really still travels the world. He travels through Asia, through Europe, to develop product that is iconic to the brand and also has a real European feel to it, because we're European in nature by design and by sourcing. And we hit all the major international shows. Right there at the upper left-hand corner is our Paris show. We participate in the Paris show, the Milan show in Italy, and also the Dubai show, along with our show here in High Point in April and October market, which if you drive by the showroom now, it looks like a bomb hit it, because we're redoing everything, all the papers being redone. We do this every 6 months. So the bottom left-hand two corners is our showroom here in High Point when it's all decked out. So we're good neighbors, is what I'm trying to get to you. And also, we have our sites globally and also growing significantly in the United States. What helped with our growth is our breadth of offering. Like I said, we're whole home, and on top of that, we have inventory. We have a magnificent warehouse facility up at the Greensboro Airport, where I house 1,200 SKUs, that's individual stock keeping units, of which all year we've been between 80 to 83% in stock status. Right now, I'm running 82% in stock status, which is unprecedented today, coming off of COVID and all the supply chain interruptions. In addition to that, we host 1,500 extra SKUs that I house in Amsterdam, and I run 2 containers a month of sold inventory. So you could basically have another opportunity to pick up 1,500 individual SKUs shipped to us within 6 to 8 weeks into our warehouse, which is phenomenal, because that is like really quick ship in the industry today, because instead of 6 to 8 weeks, most of my competitors are 6 to 8 months out for luxury goods. And then coming from a quick ship out of Amsterdam, we're quicker ship shipping in 5 to 7 days with our 1,200 SKUs at 82% in stock status. So, we put our money where the inventory levels need to be, and that has seemed to really fueled our growth for the last 30 years. This is nothing new to the company. This is how they operate. We're real excited about the opportunity of what you've done in High Point, the ballpark facility and the Bedrock community and the Comden Yard community is, I think, well done. So congratulations to the city council and all the developers that pulled everything together to make that happen, because I think it will re-energize all of High Point. We certainly got our attention. So it's one of the areas that we're considering. We kind of like the Bedrock facility. It kind of meets our needs at about 3,200 square feet. The investment for us would be about a little bit less than $500,000 over the 5-year lease period. We'll invest about $140,000 or more in the infrastructure of getting it up and running. Right now, it's just a shell, as you can imagine. And so we expect to expand to 15 employees over the next 3 to 4 to 5 years. Quite frankly, I think we'll exceed that. I can see us going up to 20, 23 people. And we want to move, wherever we move, we want to move quickly because we want to be in before the October market. So we want to use the warehouse, the showroom, the office space we currently have at the showroom. We're converting that into more showroom space. We're introducing the Met Collection, the Metropolitan Museum Collection out of New York. We'll be launching a major launch in October for that, and we need every bit of showroom space to accomplish that launch. And if you've not been to the Met Museum over the years, it's phenomenal. So we'll have the licensing agreement for that opportunity. So the Bedrock community we're looking at, or the Bedrock building. And so our commitment basically is to come in there with 3,200 square feet. We're relocating 5 employees that are all over the country right now to come in here, and then grow significantly to a tune of 15 or more. And they're good paying jobs, a little under 72,000 on average. And we think, with our growth and our opportunities, that's a good place to start. So with your consideration of the incentives that you have to offer, I would really like to consider those strongly and see if we can't make a home here in High Point, because you've done a lot of hard work. We'd like to kind of tip it in for you. If you tip it in, we'll tip it in. So with that, I'm free to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Anyone have a question?
I don't have a question, but I just want to thank you for your commitment in High Point, and we look forward to you moving forward in High Point.
Well, we'd like to see if we can't make that happen tonight. That would be a wonderful thing. So with that, I thank you again. I thank you for your bold moves in this town. I've been in the industry for quite few months, maybe many months, and years, and it's nice to see High Point on the up and up. So congrats. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. George. Is there anyone else here to speak on this item for or against? Did I miss that part? All right, thank you. That's why we have attorneys. I'm going to open the public hearing on this item and ask if there is anyone in the audience to speak for or against this item. Okay, hearing none, I will close the public hearing, and I will make a motion to approve very enthusiastically the item 2023-129.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Not all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. I've been very lucky, Mr. George. I got to see the beautiful fields of tulips that you spoke of, and it is breathtaking. So that's all for finance.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Next item is a report from Prosperity and Livability. I'll take that myself. There's a consent agenda in front of you, and I'll make a motion to approve this agenda.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion on the item? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That item passes. Next, I'd like to have Councilmember Williams give us a report from Community Development, please.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. First up are items 2023 and 116 and 117, which are 120 Peachtree Drive and 122 Kendall Avenue, These items were discussed at the last community development meeting, and they are moved, they moved with a favorable motion to council for demolition. So I'd like to actually ask if there's anyone here to speak on either of these items. Seeing none, I make the motion to move forward with a positive recommendation for the consent agenda.
Second. There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on either of these items? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously.
All right, next up is the community development, discuss the item 2023-115 public hearing on the Home American Rescue Plan. I will think we're going to hear from staff first, but I'll open the public hearing first, and I'll turn the floor over to Nina Wilson, who will give us a presentation.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council, and our city manager. I am Nina Wilson, the director of our Community Development and Housing Department, and we are presenting the draft Home America Rescue Plan that the city has received funding to address certain eligible activities through our Home Investment Partnership Act program. And I think at this point, everyone's kind of familiar with the American Rescue Plan, so I won't kind of go through that. But as a HUD participating jurisdiction, the city of High Point did receive $1,988,359 through the Home American Rescue Plan. And of those funds, $1,690,105 can be used for programs or projects, and $298,254 can be used for administration and planning. And the eligible activities the eligible activities under this program are development and support of affordable housing, tenant-based rental assistance, provision of supportive services, and acquisition and development of non-congregate shelter units. And the folks the target population that these activities would actually target would be primarily to benefit qualifying individuals and families who are homeless, at risk of homelessness, or in other vulnerable populations. And this would actually be an amendment to our 2021 fiscal year annual action plan. And throughout this consultation and citizen participation process, which the public hearing is a part of that process, we have met with various stakeholders across the community, as well as having copies of the draft available at areas such as the High Point Library, Macedonia Family Resource Center, our 4th Street office, the YWCA. So it has been distributed within the community for review and feedback. And just to kind of give you a little bit of feedback, just to kind of change or revise some of the things that are in the draft that I did want to go over with you, is by mistake, we inadvertently did omit the Housing Authority of the City of High Point from our list of agencies that we did consult. And we did meet with them, and we met with Angela Jimenez, the president and CEO of the Housing Authority, and we had a very good consultation with her, and there were some very good ideas that were generated from that. Also, on page 13 of the plan, we talk about preferences or prioritization of housing. And after consulting with HUD TA, we will not be actually doing any type of preference or prioritization, for the simple fact that we will look at working with any developers the same way that we have in the past. We will use basically an application and wait list process. So there will not be any preferences given to any specific target population. And so after the public hearing tonight, we do hope that you all will approve this application so that we can move it forward. And then hopefully by the end of the month, we will get it submitted to HUD. And this is where, of course, the plan has been available on our website as well, the link there. There were no comments received directly on the website, but it was available. And in summary, based on all of the consultation, The priorities that we will be looking to address through this plan would be the provision of supportive services, specifically rental assistance and rental housing. Those are the two things, rental counseling, I'm sorry, rental assistance and rental counseling. Those are the two things that we heard most from our agencies that residents need when it comes to affordable housing, as well as the production and preservation of affordable housing. So one of the things that was told to us time and time again is that even if you provide the rental assistance, without that counseling, without the two of them kind of going hand in hand, people are still not put in a better position. And so that is one of the things that we do want to try to do is that, yeah, we can provide assistance for 1 month, but what happens that next month without a plan being put in place? And so those are the two areas that we do want to address with this particular funding. And we're proposing to budget $250,000 for supportive services, and for development of affordable rental housing specifically, $1,539,524, and then for administration and planning, $198,835. We could, as I said toward the beginning of the presentation, we could have used up to 15% of the allocation, but we're only proposing to use 10% for administration and planning. And so that concludes the presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions of staff?
What do you think, this is Councilman Moore, the plan for the affordable type of rental houses, how's that going to come to fruition? Who's going to build it? Who's going to refurbish it?
That's one of the things we would probably work through an RFP process. That is one of the things that we have discussed. We have developers that approach us all the time. And so that is one of the things that we will do is I think what we need to do is probably be a little bit more intentional and determine the type of housing and then do an RFP for developers that can provide that type of housing. So that is the plan through an RFP process.
Nina, this is Councilman Holmes. That particular RFP process, how do we get the broadest reach to get as many developers to the table as possible? Do you guys have a plan to do that?
Basically, through advertising. I mean, that's really the way that we've done it. And even in RFPs in the past, when we've looked for consultants, I actually have personally just kind of gone out online and I've looked for looked for the company, research companies, and I've tried to directly reach out to their managers or whomever. So I think it's going to be a matter of us, looking, whether it be across the state or even beyond, reaching out to colleagues, to peers, and things like that, just so that we can get a good list and maybe get some good ideas.
Any other questions, staff? Thank you, Nina.
Thank you.
I did open the public hearing, so I will ask, is there anyone here to speak for or against this particular item? With that, I will close the public hearing, and I will make a motion, as this was moved with a favorable recommendation from the Community Development Committee on March 7th, I move to approve item 2023-115.
Second. There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Not, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously.
That is all we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item is planning and development, and I'll handle that myself. I'd like to pull item 2023-080 and 2023-081 out of pending, and I'll make a motion to do so.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We'll pull those out of pending, and I will open the public hearing on this item and turn the floor over to Mr. Shannon. We can hear these simultaneously?
Yes.
These two items, vote separate.
Yes, Herb Shannon, Senior Planner with the Planning and Development Department. And the two items, annexation case 2207 and 2229, they are related. You will have to vote on them separately, but we will do a combined presentation. These two items pertain to properties in the western portion of the city planning area near the, NC 66 I-74 interchange. The applicants are requesting a combined annexation and rezoning to facilitate development of an industrial project. This is currently in Forsyth County. Part of the property is within the city, and they're adding additional land to that property. In regards to the annexation request, the applicant is requesting to annex that area that's highlighted in red. The remainder of the site's already in the city, and that's where they're going to be proposing rezoning. But in regards to annexation, this is within the city's planning area. It abuts the city limits to the north, where you have the Ralph Lauren Polo facility. So this is a situation where city utilities, city services are already present in that area. Applicants requesting annexation to have access to city utilities, and due to the fact we've already established a presence in this portion of our planning area, excuse me, this would not this would be a reasonable annexation and will have no negative impact on city facilities and utilities in that area. In regards to rezoning, that is the entire tract that's proposed to rezone to the Employment Center District. An industrial use is proposed for that site. A conditional zoning Employment Center District is being requested. That zoning district permits a wide range of minor manufacturing and industrial services, including warehousing and distribution. The land use plan designates the area for restricted industrial use. This is a copy of our land use plan for that area. That's our guiding policy. That area you see in that light pink, all of that has a restricted industrial designation. The EC district was specifically designed for those areas. So the applicant's request for Employment Center District is consistent for our land use plan. Key items to note from the staff analysis, you have a similar industrial use directly to the north, the Polo facility, which is about 800,000 square feet. Another key thing to note is the applicant has offered conditions pertaining to restricting the location and number of access points and to install a turn lane at their access point to mitigate any traffic impacts from development. No specific proposal has been noted at this time, but based upon different concept plans the applicant's looking at, the site could hold a facility of 300 to 360,000 square feet. Finally, with that EC district, there are higher standards, including prohibiting any type of outdoor manufacturing or processing. Thus, staff is recommending approval of this request. This item was reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission at their January public hearing. The commission recommended approval of this request. Included in your staff report is a consistency statement that was forwarded to you from the Planning and Zoning Commission. And when any zoning request, you would have to include that consistency statement acceptance in your vote. So in conclusion, the annexation is a simple, straightforward vote. There's no consistency statement. The vote on the rezoning would require the consistency statement. At the public hearing, there was only one property owner that came out. They weren't necessarily against it. They were just concerned about traffic impacts and had questions about potential widening of State Road 66 further beyond the applicant's site. But because those were off-site improvements, they were not included in the conditional zoning request. That's a brief summary of the annexation and zoning. Are there any questions of staff at this time? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shannon. If not, then I will ask, is there anyone here to speak for or against this matter? If not, then I will close the public hearing and make a motion to approve the annexation 2207.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. And I'd also like to make a motion to approve the zoning map amendment 22-29 to include the consistency and the reasonable statements. There's a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes as well. Our next item is a street abandonment case, case 22-02. Did I close the public hearing on the last one? You did. Then I'll reopen the public hearing on this one and pass it back over to Mr. Shannon.
Yes, this is a request to abandon or close the southern portion of Moats Court. It's specifically for a 50 by 30 foot wide area at the terminus of the street. Moats Court is also known as State Road 1188, is an NCDOT maintained roadway. This area is outside our current city limits, but it's in our extraterritorial jurisdiction known as our ETJ area. That is an area that is adjacent to the city limits where Guilford County has granted the city of High Point zoning and building permit authority, and state statutes dictate that any street abandonments in our ETJ is to be handled by the High Point City Council. The applicant lives at the terminus of Moats Court, which lies south of Cox Avenue. They're requesting that area at the end of Moats Court be abandoned to secure land they own at the end of that existing right-of-way. The abandonment would not, excuse me, negatively impact any other property owners as they own the two abutting properties, 1436 and 1433 Moats Court. So anytime there's a street abandonment, if it's approved, the land reverts to the abutting property owner. So since they own on both sides, they will receive all of that property. As always, with any street abandonments, notice were sent by certified mail to all the abutting property owners, along with it being advertised 4 consecutive weeks and public hearing signs posted. Since they're the only property owners at the end and no other property owner will be impacted, staff is supporting this request. The Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed this at their February public hearing and recommended approval. They also took the effort of getting a survey to specifically document the area of Moats Court to be abandoned so there's no confusion in the future, which is great when you have a street abandonment to make sure there's no confusion over the area being abandoned. Just in case you didn't have a chance to go out and visit the site, the public hearing sign is the portion of the Moats Court that's going to be abandoned. The public street ends right at their driveway. So they're requesting that a small area of asphalt past the sign be abandoned. And you have 2 items for your consideration. First is a resolution that NCDOT requires, noting that the High Point City Council have no objections with them abandoning maintenance of that portion of Moats Court. The second item is a resolution of abandonment. If approved, that would be recorded at the Register of Deeds office. That's a brief summary of this request. Are there any questions of staff at this time?
No? Thank you, Mr. Shannon. Then I will ask, is there anyone here to speak for or against this matter? I'm here to speak for. Yes, absolutely, please. Come to the podium and give your name and address for this record, please.
Hi, my name is Deborah Sant. I'm one of the owners of this property. Thank you, Mr. Shannon, for all your help that you've given us in navigating this. Thank you for hearing me. We request this abandonment simply because we are the owner of all the property at the end of the street, but more so since we moved here in 2015, we've had an issue with one of our neighbors who lives 3 streets up. That issue resulted in him shooting my service animal because we would not allow him down there to hunt on our property, which is a no hunting area anyways because we live in a residential area. I've had to go to court on several occasions, and I've won several 50Cs against this gentleman because as it stands right now, the ROW allows him to stand in my yard, in my driveway, against my fence, enticing our dogs outside of their fence, which is an illegal offense to do to begin with. And as you can see, he has no issues with harming pets or any other animal. So we're just requesting, please agree with the abandonment so that we can put a gate across there because the judge cannot guarantee that I will always get a 50C to keep him away from us. And when there isn't a 50C, when he skipped a year from harming us and harassing us, he's always come back to doing it. So this would allow us to put the fence up, the gate up, to keep him off. It gives us legal protection at that point that he can no longer legally be allowed to stand in our yard and agitate us, our family, and our pets. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here to speak for or against this matter? If not, then I'll close the public hearing and I'll make a motion to approve the street abandonment 22-02.
Second.
Any further discussion? There is a motion and a second on the floor. If not, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Our next item is 2023-124. This is a zoning map amendment 23-04, and I will open the public hearing on this matter and turn the floor over again to Mr. Shannon.
Yes, this is a request initiated by the High Point City Council to rezone approximately 1.2 acres located along Underhill Street. It's about 195 feet north of Washington Street. This is a request to rezone this area from the residential single-family 5 to the transitional office district to support a minor cultural facility use. The High Point Preservation Society has received a grant to restore the boyhood home of John Coltrane, which is located at 118 Underhill Street. The requested rezoning for the Blair House and Coltrane House to the TO district is to support two items. First, the short-term goal of renovating 118 Underhill, and that also support the long-term goal of, in the future, having some type of cultural facility or museum associated with the John Coltrane House at this location. This site is situated on the outer edge of this neighborhood where there's already transitional office zoning, and it is adjacent to the Penn Griffin Middle School, High School, high school campus. The city owns about half the land. In order to have a viable site for a future museum or community center, additional land has been added on that surrounds the site. This will not negatively impact those property owners. The proposed TO district does allow single-family dwellings. So if in the future those other property owners do not wish to be part of the museum project, that's fine. Their existing home does not become non-conforming. Or in those vacant parcels, if they wish to build, they can. That was a key issue with this rezoning, that making sure we don't negatively affect any of those adjacent property owners. The TO district was specifically designed for these transitional type situations to accommodate low-intensity non-residential uses that could be in character with the adjacent residential neighborhood. Based upon the site's location on the outer edge of this neighborhood, next to an existing institutional use, staff is supporting this rezoning to the TO district. The Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed this request at their February public hearing and recommended approval. And included in your staff report is the Commission's consistency and reasonableness statement for your consideration. Staff had several phone calls from neighbors. As always, if any rezoning, we send out notices to all property owners within 300 feet. Most of the phone calls was just some confusion if their property was being rezoned. But once staff explained the proposal, there were no objections from any of the phone calls we received. That's a brief summary of this request. Are there any questions?
No questions? If not, thank you, Mr. Shannon. And I do have one person signed up for this item, Lou Bowles. If you'd like to come to the podium and give us your address for the record, please.
My name is Lou Bowles. I live at 107 North Downing, which is right behind this area. And I want to know if somebody's going to tear down all those houses and run all those people out, or what time we're talking about for a museum.
I would just note there's no proposal to tear down any homes. The museum's a long-term project, so it could be several years in the future. We're just laying the groundwork by putting zoning in place.
Okay.
And if I could speak to that, so as chair of the Coltrane Project, this effort we've been leading for the past several years, what we are very mindful of is the integrity and the fabric of that community. We do not want to be disruptive. In fact, the historical significance of John Coltrane growing up here is that he grew up in that community. So we want it to still look like a community with homes and everything there. And so I just speak as chair of the Coltrane Project and someone who's been involved with this. There's never been any discussion, and we don't have any intention of tearing down homes and wiping everything out. Everything that would be there would be pretty intimate, small and quaint, and really looking to be a good value add to the community there.
Well, I was wondering if it had anything to do with the new Daniel Brooks, if that was anywhere associated. No? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak for or against this item? If not, then I will close the public hearing, and I will make a motion to approve the zoning map amendment 23-04 to include the consistency and the reasonableness statements.
Second. Thank you.
There is a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion?
Just want to make a quick comment, Mayor Pro Tem. that this project, 4 years in the making, has seen great progress and momentum over these several years. The city making the commitment so many years to commit to this project, even before I was on council, paid huge dividends when we saw the state commit funding towards this. The city has been a partner also through funding with some of the preservation that's going on, the historical markers, things of that nature. And as Anique Oliver Brewer came to Prosperity and Livability a couple of weeks ago, he gave a great presentation on so many things happening, as well as the aspirational activities that will begin as early as this summer there at the house. It's so great to see those things move along. So these are more milestones in making that happen, and so I appreciate everyone's support of it tonight.
And I'll add, we're all local, and we're here every day. My brother lives in Waco, Texas, and is a jazz pianist. He knows that this is happening tonight. So this is not just local news. This is national news. If nothing else, then all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Our next, we're going to shift to our general business agenda, and the first item is our public transportation safety plan for 2023, and I see Angela's coming to the podium for an update.
Good afternoon. Coming to you this evening with our annual update to our public transportation safety plan. Each year, we are required to go through the plan to make any updates to our goals. And for this year's update, the only update that we made were some minor changes to reflect changes in our staffing. I know the council members have each received a copy of the plan. Are there any questions? Thank you.
If not, I'll make a motion to approve the 2023 public transportation safety plan.
Second.
There's a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Our next item, we will need to elect a voting delegate to the 2023 City Vision Conference for the North Carolina League of Municipalities. Mayor Wagner will be attending, I will be attending, Councilmember Holmes will be attending, and Councilmember Moore will be attending. So we'll need to nominate and elect one of those four to be our voting representative at that conference. And I'll make a motion to nominate Councilmember Moore.
I second that.
There's a motion and a second on the floor to have Councilmember Moore serve as our voting delegate to the 2023 City Vision Conference of North Carolina League of Municipalities. Is there any further discussion?
Represent us well and don't give away the farm.
I was going to say thank you.
Get the farm.
Thank you. No, he won't. Thank you guys that can attend. I'll be middle of prom season on that one, so I won't be breathing. But I mean, appreciate you representing us if it goes the way I would think it will. But Brett, I know you'll do well. Thank you.
Absolutely. If nothing else, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. We only have minutes to approve. Any corrections?
Motion to approve minutes.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes as well. Before we adjourn, anybody have anything else?
Those who are around, I know Councilwoman Peters already said she's going to be there, but this Thursday is our salute to female veterans. Come to yards if you can come. It's $25 a ticket, but it's a really cool event, and it's a long time overdue to honor our ladies that serve as well.
And I'd like to just make one comment. I think during our quiet session, Mayor Pro Tem Hudson mentioned that the Wagner family, and I did attend the funeral today, and I just have to say that Mayor Wagner did the most beautiful eulogy. I mean, I don't think I've ever been to a funeral with so much laughter, and so please let's all do hold him and his family in prayer. You know, they've been such a dedicating family for High Point for a very, very long time, so please hold the Wagner family up in prayer.
And on another note, I know some members of council, our mayor, city manager, and some other members of staff are traveling next week to go represent at National League of Cities. to also go on Capitol Hill to do some good advocating for the city. So keep us in prayer as we travel.
Anything further? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. So there's a motion and a second. Any- All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Clearly, we are adjourned. Thank you all.